Hello, traveling machinist here. Well, I stopped by my buddy's place, APT Machining and Fab, and so what I want to do is take you inside. It's Friday, so they don't have. They work 4 10-hour days, so the Fridays are pretty like a skeleton crew, and even today is even less. So we don't even have machines running or anything like that. But it's a good showing of what a CNC machine shop is. And this is basically a job shop, so he does projects for all different types of customers, kind of like the shop I used to own. And I'm going to turn you around, maybe. So as you can see, this is kind of like raw stock that you would buy in, just bar stock, aluminum, stainless. And once we get inside, I'll show you some machines that we use to remove material and make parts, scrap bins. So let's go inside. Let's take a look. He said there's like 30 machines in here. And we got, these would be your manual machines, manual lathe, manual mill, all the support equipment. So as we come in here first, we have, this is a CNC mill. And this is a it's a 3-axis with a 4th axis indexer. That's the controls. This particular machine's a Haas. He's got lots of different machines in here. Here's another milling machine. Basically, as you can see, you take raw material like that, and then you turn it into, you put it in the machine, and here you can see we're making small little wedges. And these are all automatic CNC machines. And whether the raw stock is completely raw stock, here's a part. It's been bored on the lathe. Looks like they're drilling and tapping a hole in here. But you can also get in castings like this from said casting house, and then you machine them to the print or spec. Brian's been doing this for some years. So here's a part. Piece of aluminum. Then you have horizontal machining centers. The other ones were vertical milling machines. This would be a horizontal. And basically you can see the spindle nose right there. And it's in a horizontal position versus the other one was in a vertical position. Pretty big machines. You can see some bigger parts right there. I remember when Brian started, he only had like 2 CNCs, maybe 3. Now this is a lathe. And the difference between a lathe and a mill is, as you can see, this is a chucker, 3-jaw chuck, and it clamps on the part and it'll spin the part, versus a mill will spin the tool. And this chuck can be changed out to a collet or whichever. And then the tools are up in the turret right there. Now the newer machines, some of the newer machines, you can get with live tooling, so you can do milling and lathe operations in the same machine. These controls are pretty complex. It's a G&M code that controls them. Here's a larger mill. It's a 50 taper. And the controls are pretty much the same, except for you just have more axes. It's an old lathe, a little larger though. 15-inch chuck maybe, I'm just guessing. What else we got over here? Looks like he's got a router. It's got a gantry mill, I guess is what they'd call that, for larger parts. Then we're going to go over here. Another lathe. Now this lathe's a little more complex. This one's got 2 spindles, 2 turrets. So basically these turrets, this turret here, can move at the same time that one does. And then as you can see, there's a spindle on this side and a spindle on this side, so you can transfer parts. This thing actually has live tooling on it also, as you can see right here. That'll spin, so you can do milling and lathe work in this machine. Ooh. I know those parts. I used to make these parts. A little different today than they were back then, but the hex we used to put a pin in. He's got them pretty packed in here. More mills. There's a lathe ahead of me, another lathe over there. This looks like a little newer machine. This one has live tooling, sub spindle, main spindle. Now we're going to come over here. Now these are a 5-axis machine. You know, most of those other ones are 3 and 4 axis, but this is a 5-axis with this trunnion rotates. This table spins. I can control that by degrees, and then also it'll pivot on this trunnion to a certain angle also. So those are 2 axes, and then you got X, Y, and Z to give you 3 axes. So a total of 5 axes can be controlled simultaneously on this machine. I think we have another 5-axis right here. Then you got all the support equipment, tooling, jigs. Like a lot of these fixtures and stuff are for holding parts, which you customize machine them to hold certain items, work holding, vices, things of this nature. Here's a fancy little fixture that was designed and developed to hold a part so that you can machine it. There's a bunch more up on the shelf there. Another 5-axis, 40 taper. These will automatically change the tools. I mean, there could be up to, I mean, they make magazines as large as, I don't know how much this is, you know, 40, 50 tools at a time. So you have all your drills, taps, end mills, boring heads, all those all in the tool holders. So here's kind of what a tool holder looks like. I'll show you on this one. Well, they make magazines, they make carousels, that, you know, there's multiple ways they even have pick and place robots for tooling if there's that many tools. This one's got what, 33? Oh. So, and each one of those tool holders kind of looks like this. This is for the mill. It's a shell cutter. It's for facing and milling. And then it changes on this taper. There's another one here with a drill in it. So there's a lot of cost in the tooling and fixturing. I wonder where. I'll go take it to the QA room. But that's what CNC machinists do. We take raw materials and make parts out of them. Let's see if this is it. Yeah, looks like this is the QA room. There we go. These surface plates, super flat for measuring things. Then we got some CMMs here. CMMs are coordinate measuring machines. So basically you put your part on there and you can see that little probe. This particular unit is, you can run it through like a CNC control. It's got different probes you can pick up. So we have, you know, like a tool changer on the probe. Then you can come around and just touch all your points. You can do your geometric tolerancing measurements. Then over here is another little older one. And these move in 3 axes. Well, this one probably moves in, the head here will rotate 90 degrees probably too. So this has got a little more options. So you got your your Z, and then X and Y. And usually this room is controlled at like 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That way that when you're measuring a part, it's the same temperature at another location. And then everything's got to be calibrated. Looks like this is the tool crib. Do we have a light switch? I don't see one. Maybe over there. I'll wander over here. So the tool crib is basically where all the tools are housed, and you'll set up your tools. Looks like they got a tool management system in play here. There we go. We got some lights. So like all your carbide inserts, things of this nature. and it's locked up. So you got to get on the computer and then it'll open up, I bet. And then you got all your like tool holders for your milling. And then you have like a presetter here. So you can get the length of the tools, so you can punch that into the machine. So the machine knows how long the tool is to calculate your H values. All kinds of different tools in here to get the job done. And you never have enough of it. And it's expensive. All right, we'll wander back out of here. When I mean calibrate, you know, the ISO 9000, whatever number they're on right now, basically there's a routine to measure, you know, check your micrometers, to calibrate them like once a year or every 6 months, or even if you're doing high production, that period may be more periodical depending on what you're using, like pin gauges and stuff like this. You know, if you're using them on the floor as a pin gauge to test a hole or something, and you're doing thousands of parts, you may want to have a higher frequency. This here is a hardness tester. Then we got an optical comparator, which basically shows a light on the part, so then we can find the lines and the angles. All right, there's some parts right here. All right, well, that ends the tour of this shop. And as I travel down my way to Florida and the LAX, I'm hoping to hit more shops along the way, just so you guys can get a better view of different types of shops available and what they do. Some are manufacturing shops. This particular shop is a job shop. So they do multiple different parts. It's not always the same part. They're constantly changing setups, you know, for each part. This here is a bar machine, which would automatically, you put your bars in like this here, and then it automatically feeds them into the machine, which then comes through the chuck right here. And then it's just, you can part off parts, and they got a little parts catcher right here. So you know, it can run automatically part after part after part.